Hello, folks. It is JD Wessel here for a new edition of the Wildcat Breakdown, and today we are actually without Will Morris, but I am followed by Jaden Cover and a guest host, Millard West's very own varsity baseball player, Colby Gomes. So first, Jaden, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, JD. It's a cozy room we're in. How are you doing?
Great atmosphere is all I can say. Three guys who know a lot about sports and want to talk about it. That's as much as I can say to pretty much sum it up. Colby, how are you doing?
Oh, it's a great day to be here with you guys. Thanks for having me.
It's a real honor, Colby. You are a player who committed to Nebraska, I believe, freshman year, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you committed to Nebraska, and, a lot of people were taken by surprise. I don't think you played a varsity game at that level yet, but you've also evolved into a great player at this point in your career. Jaden, anything you want to say about Colby?
Yeah, I actually remember the day he tweeted it. I was kind of surprised because I was playing on JV Green at that time, and he was on JV Black, which is at Millard West. That's the level. It's like the top JV. Normally sophomores play there. And I knew he was good. I hadn't played against him since Little League, and I didn't know he was that good, so it kind of took me by shock. But looking at what he's done the last 2 years.
Yeah, he's definitely done a lot, and this year he has really helped out his team on not only the offensive side with his hitting, but also the defensive side. We saw you have a big game against Creighton Prep. I think you had 2 RBIs. I think, did they call it 2 hits?
They did.
You beat that one out. So, yeah, you had 2 hits, 2 RBIs against one of the better teams in the state. A lot of people consider them to be. And then you pitched a great 7th inning to win the ballgame for your team in that 2-0 finish. And, not to just toot the horn for you, Colby, but, what does it take for you to come into every game and know that you need to be, well, not only rested on you to be one of the best players, but what does it feel like to have to kind of leeway your team into success, knowing that you're kind of one of the big key contributors at this point?
Well, I guess every single day you have to show up to the ballpark. If you're slacking, the rest of the people on your team will, if he's Division I, he's slacking, and I could slack off and be Division I as well. But that's not how it works. You gotta push yourself, be the hardest worker on the team. Just help your team win, get the job done.
Yeah, and not only to talk about Colby, but let's kick it over to some of your other players. Who are some of the players on your team that have kind of stepped up since being juniors last year? Let's talk about the seniors. Who are some seniors who have stepped up for your team and kind of took that leadership role as a senior?
Seniors this year, definitely Brandon Hargis, Garrett Kosis, Brandon McClintock, Will Olson, definitely all the top guys on our team. They're putting in work. They're kind of more of a mentor towards the younger players on our team, like the sophomores and some of our juniors. They're helping us out.
Okay, for sure. And, you guys had big expectations coming into this year. You were ranked 35th overall in the nation. And, Jaden, for a team like Millard West, who hasn't really, well, let's just say it plain out, they haven't won anything big, to be honest. They don't have that resume that most teams that you see in even the top 100 in the nation, you don't often see that. And so did it take you by surprise seeing Millard West ranked that high?
Yes and no. Obviously, the spring state title has eluded Millard West. 7 cracks at it and have walked away from each 7 losing. So that's heartbreaking as a player, or just in the program. You've played in 7 state championships, 1 under Fry, 6 under Frank Ryan, and you have no state championships. They have one in summer, but that's not technically Millard West baseball. Mm-hmm. But just to get there takes a lot of effort, and you got schools that have been around longer than we have and have not been able to get to the state championship. And you look at the talent they have going into this year. If all the cards play out well, them and Lincoln Southwest, I'd say, should be there in the state championship.
So you're making an early
prediction. I'm making an early
prediction. Okay. Wow, I really like that. And let's just be pretty much started off here looking at your guys' schedule. So you're 12-5 overall, which, again, you came into this season ranked 35th overall, and I believe if we could get a look, you guys are somewhere, let's not even mention what you guys are ranked nationally, but that doesn't really matter at this point. I think it's just breaking into the season, getting into strides, and seeing who your new teammates are and getting prepared for, when it really goes down to that state championship opportunity when you get to state. And so you started off the season, Colby. Your team started off with a 4-3 win over Westside, and it took, again, a lot of people by surprise seeing you guys struggle early. What do you think the problem was? If you can go back to that game and remember, what do you think your team's problem was?
A lot of our team plays multiple sports. So multi-sport athletes, it kind of takes a little bit while to go from one sport to the other. Got to get that from basketball body to baseball body or football body to whatever sport you're playing. That definitely takes a while, but I think starting a couple days ago, we're finally starting to pick it up a little bit, get our things in shape, and putting some wins together.
Yeah, and I definitely agree that we have a lot of multi-sport athletes here at Millard West. Jaden Cover was one of them, but obviously he put his time in for football. We've seen him talk about it plenty of times, and he's obviously been through some rough patches with Millard West, coming runner-up. We always mention it,
Yep.
But you know what? Let's shy away from it at this point. And then Colby. Yeah, but no, like you said, a lot of multi-sport athletes, you got to get into that baseball mentality. You've been focusing on basketball, winning a state title there. They want to do that, and then you shift it over to baseball. It's got to be real tough for those athletes. But, like you said, it looks like Millard West is starting to get in their stride. They've been blowing teams out in this Metro tournament so far from what we've seen, and they got a couple big matchups coming up soon.
If I may jump in,
Yeah.
Colby, this is kind of aimed at you. You're obviously, I think it was basically you and Shay were kind of our, the key pieces in basketball. But we all know that your heart's in baseball. You love basketball, but there's definitely something about baseball that it's ahead of any other sport you've played, and you seem to have your best upside in baseball. So when you're going into basketball, which is a lot more physical than baseball, do you ever get nervous that, hey, I'm going to get injured this game, and what if I'm going to miss all of baseball? And what if, I don't know if scholarships can be pulled, but does that ever go through your mind when you're playing?
It definitely goes through my mind. I mean, it should, but you can't play scared. If you play scared, that's when things happen. That's when you get hurt. But I just go out there and try to help the team win with either sport that I'm playing.
That's well said, Colby. And to jump right back into baseball, then I believe a day later you guys lost to Lincoln Southwest 4-3. And I think a lot of people were predicting you guys to have a near perfect season, indicating by how the roster was and really how the national rankings went. I think a lot of people expected you guys to live up to the hype that they received. And with that, you guys you picked it up as we're looking here on the schedule. You guys won a lot of games in a row, but it looked like you guys were just barely winning those games and kind of struggling overall, and you'd have to see it in person to kind of realize that this is not the Millard West team that we're accustomed to knowing they had Cole Stobie only a year ago and a very successful team making it to that state championship game, and now you guys are kind of struggling, and you've lost a couple key games. You lost to Bellevue West, Papillion La Vista, even losing to Elkhorn, losing to them 4-2. And, what kind of went through your head after you guys lost to Elkhorn? Because that's pretty recent. I mean, did that kind of slow you guys down as a team?
I don't think it slowed us down as a team. I think it definitely gave us a little bit more motivation to come out and not let those games slip from us. There's been games where we've been up 2, 3, 4 runs. We've been down, we've come back. But I think we just got to put little things together and pull out some wins. Yeah,
for sure. And, it's enough to just talk about what could have been at the start of the season, and I think you can kind of relate to last year's team. I mean, that was a team with Cole Stobie, who is now in the minor leagues. I mean, he's doing big things. I think the Millard West last year was kind of the could-have-been story, You had a young team, but you knew they could compete with prep. It was just putting all the pieces together at the right time, and I think, again, that's just what Millard West is doing right now. They're really struggling to find not only the central part of the team, you got to get all the guys together all in one bucket, but I think it's also putting the hard work in. And I think I've heard a couple players say, hey, you know what, this is not where we want to be. We need to put in the more work and more effort to become what we want to be. And Jaden, playing for Millard West football, Coach Pete strives on that, and you got to imagine, Millard West is a competitive program. Jaden, what do you got to say about it?
That's actually the exact problem we had last year is all the talent in the world, but not the effort to get the output. And he constantly, at the beginning of the season, it was what can we do to get these guys' efforts, and not throwing anyone under the bus because it was just a team effort. But we didn't have. We all remember Quinn Brummer and Cody Jenkins, those guys. We didn't have the guy that was going to grab someone and tell them, hey, this is not how you're supposed to do it. Figure it out. Get with the program. This is what we do. This is what Millard West football is about. And we didn't have that last year, so we just kind of went through the motions, and you can't stop Jalen Bradley when you go through the motions.
Yeah, that was a big key by Coach Pete is you got to play as a full team and you got to want to win. You always hear coaches say that, but I think a lot of coaches out in the state could agree that Coach Pete is he's far from none. He's one of those guys that if you have in your program, he's going to make them successful. Some could even say that Millard West is going to have a bad season next year. I've heard a couple of players say, we don't know if we have the talent, but I think having Coach Pete on your coaching staff is maybe even enough to make him have a good run next year. I would say that.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's just with any sport. You lose a lot of seniors in one position. You got to figure out who's your next guy, and that's what we're dealing with. And I think that's kind of what baseball, at the beginning of the season, a lot of new guys had a lot of new positions, all the talent, but how are they going to translate into there? And so, it took 5 losses to say, all right, we're playing Creighton Prep. Let's not make it 5 in a row. Let's win this. All right, we're playing Millard North. Let's win this. And you got all the pieces working together. You got, Colby had 2 big hits in both games with his home run and that single that's scored 2, I believe. And then you got, Brock Burling, where he's always had that velocity, but it was for him, I've kind of noticed from watching, it's controlling himself and controlling his emotions. And I think it was about the second inning when he had the bases loaded, no outs, and he was able to get out of that with no runs across. Like that's competing, and he was able to do that.
Yeah, and like you said, there's a lot of, and this isn't only for Millard West. This is every player. It is a mental sport, and I think a lot of people know that. But when you really cut down to it, you need players who are gonna be able to compete every single night. It doesn't matter what team you play. Millard West just played Benson, and that potentially could have been a game where Millard West kind of sits back on their heels and lets Benson put a couple runs on them, or maybe even hold them low on the offensive side. But Millard West came out of the gates. They said, "Listen, we're not taking anything for granted at this point. We've been struggling. It's time to step up and prove what we are here in the Metro Tournament." And I think Game 1 of the Metro Tournament for Millard West was an easy 10-0 win. What did they have, Colby? Did you guys have 9 runs in the second inning, I believe?
9 runs in the second inning, yeah.
And, we know Benson, they're not, the most skilled team, but I think that's kind of putting an exclamation point that it's time to play the game, And it all started just a couple weeks, or I should say around a week ago against Creighton Prep. You guys beat them 2-0, and this is a Creighton Prep team they've been known to score some runs. We'll say that. And with that being said, Colby, what was going through the dugout's mind all throughout the game? Did you guys stay up the whole game, or was it kind of just let's chip away at every single inning and take it inning by inning? What went through the dugout's mind?
I definitely think it started before the game because it wasn't the warmest day of all time, but Brandon Hargis kind of got in our faces saying it's not cold, it's a great day for some baseball, let's play, let's get this W. And I think that's all we're like, all right, yeah, it's not that cold, let's just play, let's just get this W. And I think that's what really got our fire going. We were loud in the dugout, started off, got a run in the first inning. Brock came out there and threw a beautiful game, beautiful 6 innings. Had a little rough patches, but he got out of them. No runs scored, and that's all we could ask for from him.
Well, if I may, after I kind of kept track, after that second inning that was rough for Brock, he retired every hitter until you came in. Have you ever seen Brock pitch that well?
I have not. No, I've known Brock.
And folks, that's not taken away from Brock. He's a great pitcher, but again, like you guys said, he had a great outing. Go ahead, Colby.
Great guy, great competitor. Sometimes can't hold his composure, but every single time we saw him, we were, hey, Brock, just relax, pitch. You know what you're doing. You know, you're one of our top pitchers on the team. Just go out and do what you do.
Yeah, and
he did it.
He clearly locked down in that game, giving Millard West again a 2-0 win.
Well, and I kind of saw. I think it was because Brock had 2 errors in the game. There were four base runners, 2 run errors by him, a walk, and then 1 hit that they scratched in the second inning. After his second error, I saw you kind of, make a joke about him because it was an infield pop-up, one that generally you don't want your pitcher. I mean, Brock's a great pitcher, but he's not necessarily known for his fielding. So I saw you kind of make a joke at him, or I assume it was a joke.
Yeah. Me and Brock have that kind of relationship. It's kind of just like a mess around, kind of joking, have some fun. But I was trying to make sure that he's not all up in his head, trying to get pissed off at himself. I just try to relax him, and apparently it worked.
Yeah, and that's great for your teammate to keep. Again, if you make consecutive errors, it will get up in your head. And, yeah, like you said, toss on a little joke here and there. It'll calm them down and kind of make them realize, hey, we still got the lead, nothing to worry about here. And, the defense obviously backed them up. And then, Colby, the very next night, you guys beat Millard North, who Millard North has definitely been struggling this year, but that's pretty much a rivalry game for you guys. Can you kind of walk us just a little bit through how that game went? I mean, is Millard North, do you think they're a potential contender this year?
They are. They're a very good team. There's no one set team on who's going to win it this year. Everyone's got a chance. Everyone's a good program. Coaches are great. Players are great. I think, again, for us, it was just getting on the board early, trying to get hype, and kind of get the other team like, oh, this might not be good. Kind of get that in their head. And I think that's what we did against Millard North, scoring 3 runs in the first inning, I believe. And I think ever since that inning, we've just kept it going.
Yeah, no, for sure. Ever since that inning, because we're going to take you guys into the Metro tournament where Millard West they scored 23 runs in 2 of the games they've played, giving up 0 runs. And what can you kind of contribute to that? And what work did you guys put in before the Metro tournament?
Definitely put in some more work in the batting cages. Our pitchers throwing some bullpens, more fielding practice, kind of putting more pressure on ourselves in practice. So when it's in the game, it's just second nature to us. We just get the job done, and
yeah. I mean, I think that's enough said from you, Jaden. We haven't really seen a Millard West team. Again, we haven't seen them quite as high ranked as we thought we would before. And with that, they've struggled. Coach Fry's a generally new coach. I mean, he's only had 1 official season, but he's not new in the coaching business. I mean, I believe he coached for Elkhorn. Is that right,
yep,
Colby?
Elkhorn.
Yeah, he coached for Elkhorn. He did a great job over there, and now he's really helping out Millard West. Jaden, how much do you think it means to the players knowing Coach Fry is all in on Millard West? He's not looking back at his past, and he's really coaching up these guys to be the best possible players. What do you think Coach Fry's done well as a coach so far?
Well, first off, with Fry, that takes a lot of guts to come in, not only just at a program that Frank Ryan had been coaching for 20 years and has just made a name for the school. But to come in the middle of the season, right after spring ball, which that 2015 year for Millard West, kind of rough. Seemed like there was kind of a dysfunctional group.
Yeah.
So he came into a dysfunctional team in the middle of the season, and he ran with them, and he made them into a good program. Sounds like he does things differently from Ryan. Ryan was a lot about conditioning, and you did a lot of running. And it sounds like they don't really do a lot of running. They focus more just on I don't know. Colby, wouldn't you say you guys kind of are more just keying on the fundamentals, relax, not as much pedal to the metal?
Yeah, it's definitely more focused on the little things. We are definitely working on just making small things perfect, so the bigger things kind of come natural to us. Definitely just putting in the work and not. Yes, we have pressure on ourselves, but it's not if you mess up, you're not worried about Coach Fry running at you, yelling in your face. You're not worried about that.
Yeah.
He's more of a, I'm not mad, disappointed type of guy, which can be good, but it's a little like disappointed. But you don't want to disappoint Coach Fry even more than you already have. So I think that's what gets us the motivation to not mess up again.
Mm-hmm. And I think he's a generally nice guy. So I think just looking at him from what I see, he's one of those coaches you can go up to and have an easy conversation with him. There's nothing you can hold back against him. And from talking to him in interviews and seeing him in gym class, I mean, he's definitely putting Millard West on the map as a good program, even better program than they were before. And that's not taking anything away from Coach Ryan, but it's definitely shown that Coach Fry is willing to put in this work for Millard West to make them better. He wants this program to succeed. And, again, he's done a great job. And, caps off from me. And let's kind of switch it over here. Colby, what will be your guys' next matchup coming up?
Next matchup is today at Millard North against Papio South at 6. Semifinals of the Metro tournament. Hoping to come out, get a W.
Wow.
Move on to the championship on
That's
Saturday.
well said by you, Colby. You obviously know what you're talking about here. You know the goal. Let's just say that. So you guys are going against Papillion La Vista. Is that what I heard?
Yep.
And they're not a bad team either. And no, like you said, there is no clear-cut team at this point in the season. A lot of teams have been rambling around. A lot of teams have gotten some big wins, tough losses. And Colby, coming into this game, did Coach Pete kind of tell you guys the strategy? Or, are you guys just going out
Coach
there?
Fry?
Coach Pete, what? Come on. I love Coach Pete. I'll just say that right now. What did Coach Fry, did he give you guys a clear-cut strategy, or are you kind of going out and doing your own thing this game?
His clear-cut strategy is to win. That's the only strategy he has.
I like that.
With
Go
that,
ahead, Jaden.
because not Benson, because we all know that was kind of a blowout, but lately the schedule has been, it's been a tough part, kind of the dog days of spring, if I can use that term. So just kind of finding any little ways to win. It's never been one inning where you guys just tack on 9 like you did yesterday, but in those games where you're playing the Millard North, the Creighton Preps, Papio South, maybe Papio later on, Lincoln Southwest, is it just about winning each pitch?
It is. It's about it's about doing every little thing right, focus on every single pitch. Every rep is important. If you take one rep, that could be the rep that you lose the game for your team.
Oh, for sure. And, yeah, guys, that's no cliche answer. I definitely see, Colby, you work at next level.
I do.
And so that's a big advantage for you to get in the cages constantly. Heck, I haven't been there a while, but I could definitely see you there after hours, to say the least. No, but yeah, guys, I think Millard West is definitely on the right path. They've won, I think, 4 straight.
Yep.
And again, they come in to the Metro tournament taking on Papillion La Vista. And Colby, anything you want to say about not only this up-and-coming matchup tonight, but pretty much for the rest of the season? Anything you want to say for your team?
Team, just keep working hard, keep putting in the work, do little things right, and hopefully we'll get this championship. First one.
And Jaden, anything you want to say? I think it's time we about wrap this up, so I think, Jaden, any last vows for you? Anything about Millard West baseball or, pretty much about the program?
No, I'm with Colby, not as a player, but as a fan. I'd like to see you guys win one.
Yeah, I think many people from Millard West could say that. And I think right now for the last thing we want to do here is let's kind of talk about our predictions and how we kind of see some of these Millard teams ending up. One team we didn't talk about is Millard South. They're a team, I think they're 17-1.
And you kind of have a close relation to Millard South.
Listen, come on. Okay, let's just say
catcher now, isn't he, JD?
Yeah, a little freshman.
I'm not just bringing up Millard South, but we've all, I think a lot of teams in the state have seen how they're doing, and myself, I've kind of noticed. But I know you guys haven't watched much baseball this year, from other standpoint. Millard West, obviously, that's a given, but from what I've seen from Millard South, they look like a team that can make a run. But again, I still want to pick Millard West over any team in the state, and that's not just Millard West pride there. I think Millard West, if you guys get all the pieces together, Colby, I've been waiting for that, getting the pieces together. I think you guys can be a really successful team. Jaden, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Millard South has kind of shocked me. I mean, especially, your brother's a great player. I've always known he's a great player. I see him in the backyard all the time.
We're neighbors, folks.
Yeah.
He ain't no creeper, don't
But, he's always been a great player, but to be a freshman starting at any Class A school, Millard South, not necessarily as many people go out for the team as Millard West, but they're still right up there in talent-wise. So I think youth, depending on how it's used, can be an advantage, but also the experience, the lack thereof, could it hurt them down the line?
And no, not to cut into you, but we've seen Millard South. They have a really young program right now in pretty much every sport. I mean, they're running freshmen on the defensive line, I believe.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's crazy. I mean, Millard South is a huge program. I mean, they've been around for a solid 20-plus years, even more than that, obviously. But, yeah, like you were saying, it's kind of risky tossing in those young guys, but I think they're kind of working with it now. And, again, like you said, it was a big surprise, especially for me, because from what we saw from Millard South last year, like the JV team, they kind of struggled, let's be honest there. And they didn't really have a clear understanding of what they wanted to be as a team. You know, they had Drew Gillen, Kyle Perry, 2 Nebraska commits joining Colby Gomes, but I think they've kind of found their identity. And I think their identity is, they like playing defense. I mean, they win some close games with some tough offensive games, I will say. And this is just from what I've seen. I mean, I don't know Millard South that well, but from what I do see, I think Millard South is a really good team, but I still want to pick Millard West over most. I'll just say that right now. They just need to get the pieces flowing. Gentlemen, anything else you want to add?
I'm good. Just thank you for having me.
Whoa,
It
now.
was a pleasure.
Oh, no issue, Colby. It's always an honor. And, would you look at the time clock? It's about time for you guys to feast up in a couple hours, to say the least. I just hope you guys luck for that. Jaden?
Yeah.
Anything else?
Good luck, Millard West baseball. Colby gets some hits. Let's get a W.
I think overall as a team, you guys are – let's talk about a little strategy quick. I'm sorry, folks. I kind of rambling on here, but Colby, what's going to be your strategy for tonight in just a couple words? Sum it up.
Strategies, get the win.
Oh, okay. Easy strategy, I guess.
Easy.
I mean, you're not going to hit the ball. You're not going to play defense.
You're gonna hit the ball. You're going to play some defense.
Okay.
All five.
Find some grass on the outfield. Maybe hit one over the fence. Who knows?
Well, folks, this has been a long-awaited Wildcat breakdown. We had a big break from, losing football, obviously, and we kind of bounced back here with some baseball. And, it was fun. What do you guys think? Should we keep this going for the fans?
Yeah, I think we should keep it going every couple weeks or so.
Yeah, and it was fun. And all I can say is this is all we have here for the 3rd or 4th Wildcat breakdown that we've had. This has been JD Wessel, your host.
Jaden Cover and our guest star,
Colby Gomes.
It was a real honor, folks. Take it easy, and remember, always kill 'em with kindness.